pleasure to welcome you to Just a Minute in Middle-earth. First, let me welcome the fine and erudite competitors who will be competing for the coveted trophy as Just a Minute in Middle-earth champion. First, Shaun Gunner. Our very talented, very happy singer. Maggie Bailey, fresh from her recent musical conquests. Marcel Aubron-Bülles, polymath and all-round good guy. And it is my very deep and profound pleasure to ask you to put your hands together for Tom Shippey. This quiz, I managed to get both the timing and the scores wrong. So I have shipped in a professional all the way from Bermuda, Neil. You're not the Neil I'm looking for. Not familiar with the game, it is very simple. I will give a subject to one of our competitors and they will try to talk about that subject for just 1 minute, but without repetition, hesitation or deviation. Competitors who spot a deviation from the rules should buzz in using our highly sophisticated buzzer system.
Good.
They will earn a point. They will earn a point for a successful challenge and gain the subject. But if I deem a challenge to be wrong, and note the words, if I deem the challenge to be wrong, then the person who has been interrupted gets a point and keeps the subject. Whoever is talking at the end of a minute gets a point, and there is a bonus point for anyone who can talk on a subject for a full minute without interruption. A quick reminder that it is allowed to repeat the word of the subject itself, but not any other word within the subject. And finally, because this is just a minute in Middle-earth, an additional rule regarding deviation. As well as covering deviation from the subject or from the English language, I will also rule in favour of a challenge for deviation if someone talks about some things that are not relevant to Middle-earth. So if I give you dogs and you tell me about your puppy at home, I will require a proven certificate that he is the descendant of Puat. Right, let's get going with the first subject. A nice easy one. I thought I'd start with Shaun. Shaun, can I have a minute on the subject of poetry?
Oh, yes.
Deviation. We're not talking about God here, we're talking about poetry. I'm sorry, but Iluvatar is not in it yet.
Aren't they a team?
Excuse me! No, it's an individual. Excuse me. I think the correct interruption would have been for hesitation, not deviation. I'm taking 1 point from Maggie, and Shaun will be so happy to know he still has the subject.
59 seconds.
For 55 seconds.
Many members of the Tolkien Society will be aware that poetry is my least favourite topic to be asked about. I absolutely detest Tolkien's poetry. I think it is awful. Thank God.
Interruption, Marcel.
-1 point, Marcel. I want to go for poetry, but that's the subject, right?
Incorrect interruption. Hesitation by the bucket load. Shaun. You have 26 seconds on the subject of poetry. You're cracking this, mate. Start taking it now.
I am really grateful to be able to continue to talk about Tolkien's poetry, of which I'm such a big fan. I'm thinking through what my favourite potential Tolkien poem is. It'll be Galad was an elven king, of him the harp was sadly sing, the last whose realm was fair and free between the mountains and the sea. And I'm going to stop there because I'm really hoping someone is going to interrupt me for the last 3 seconds, and I'll continue to waffle on and get the point.
Shaun for talking when the subject ends. A deduction from each of you, because he said Tolkien 3 times. You should all be ashamed. Marcel, I'm coming to you next.
I'm so glad.
He's cost me a fortune and he can't work his own phone.
I would like to repetition.
Yes, the phone is repeating. Please bear with us.
Anybody got a phone that works?
Comes from yes.
We tried turning it off at all.
There's always one IT expert in the building.
So never mind the points, just say I won.
Hang on.
You may be the most beautiful and the most glamorous darling, but you're a long way from winning.
Just a fool guy. And the Alan Davis are just
Right. Marcel,
Yes.
can I have a minute on the subject of Tolkien's critics?
Critics, it's one of the most wonderful jobs, one of the most wonderful things that I can
Repetition of wonderful.
Shaun, correct. You have 48 seconds on the subject of Tolkien's critics.
And a point. Excellent. Well, I know this is a subject that Tom Shippey has got a lot of views on in terms of Tolkien's literary critics. I myself am a big critic of Tolkien's poetry.
It's Marcel.
repetition for Tolkien.
The subject returns to Marcel and he gains a point. You have 33 seconds on the subject of Tolkien's critics.
One of the most important things that you need to keep in mind when it comes to criticism is that the topic at hand is so important in this particular case that I would... I get a point for that.
I did. I'm pretty sure that was a repetition of important.
Yes, I'm going to give you that, Shaun.
What? I never said important. Okay, sorry.
I'm sorry.
1 point.
Shaun, you have 11 seconds on Tolkien's critics. Starting now.
I am a great critic of Tolkien's poetry, which I think is just awful. I don't know why people want to read Tolkien's poems. I think that...
Repetition of Tolkien.
Correct interruption. You have 1 point, and I think the whistle has gone.
1 second.
You have 1 second on the subject of Tolkien's critics.
Critics as well.
1 point to Marcel. Speaking when the whistle goes. The next subject is for you, Tom. Can I have a minute, without hesitation, deviation and all the rest of it, on the subject of Nichols' tree?
What?
Nichols' tree.
Nichols' tree. Tree, yes. The beautiful tree. Made.
Hesitation!
I hadn't started the clock into it. starting now.
Aye, Nichols tree. It was one with a lot of leaves on it, as I recall. The artist was much better at the details than at the whole thing.
Interruption by, I think Maggie got
He did say
Yes, you
He
did.
did say
Hesitation.
That wasn't that was
I'm sorry, Tom, it was a correct interruption, but I am going to give you a point for the best crack of the night. That was it. Maggie, you have 36 seconds on the subject of Nichols tree.
Nichols tree was a beautiful tree with many leaves on it, and he wanted to illustrate the beauty.
Shaun, interruption.
I heard repetition of tree, beautiful.
But Tom was first.
I love Nichols tree. You could have beautiful.
tree.
Tree is in the title.
Did you repeat beautiful as well?
I did. I stand full guy
Take
again.
that, see that point I gave Maggie? Take
Yes.
it back off her again. And I give up. You're all doing ahead of it. So we're going to have a new subject because I just didn't get who quick. Neil's hitting the thing too quick.
Like that.
See if it works.
Plus one to Tom for creative thinking.
What?
So we're going to Maggie. I'm going to give Maggie 60 seconds to talk about pipeweed.
Pipeweed. I remember back in the 60s, when I was a hippie, we used to smoke pipeweed all the time, but we didn't call it pipeweed in those days. We called it something like hash, possibly. And we used to make cakes out of it, and we used to smoke it. And it was legal in those days. What? What?
Interruption by
Shaun.
Shaun.
She did
Correct
repeat the word.
interruption.
She did repeat the word smoke.
Yes, she did. Mike, remember I gave you a budget for buzzers?
Not a big one, obviously.
Shaun, you have 18 seconds on the subject of pipeweed and keep it middle earth. I can't take any more points off Maggie, it couldn't be fair. Starting now.
One of the difficulties about buzzing in on this game is that you end up buzzing in to steal a point and then not knowing what to say when you actually got the right to speak.
Deviation. Buzzing doesn't have to do with the topic.
That'll be 1 point for Marcel and 1 point deducted for being smart. You do have
He's always smart.
That's his uncle's name.
For 1 second.
You smoke it, you eat it, you...
No, I think you meant that
1 point to Marcel for speaking when the clock goes.
Good going, Marcel.
Get back to Tom, keep it that way.
Yeah, that one.
Tom, you get to pick a subject because I love you.
Just take one of these. Yeah.
I get to choose a subject.
Maybe not the ones that we already had.
Okay.
Tom, you have 1 minute to speak on the subject of your choice because you're Tom Shippey and you can do whatever you want. Now.
The first time I read Tolkien, I borrowed a book from a colleague at King Edward School, Birmingham, and his name was David Powys. And he very kindly lent me a copy of The Hobbit.
Interruption, Shaun.
The colleague, that's a deviation from Tom Shippey.
I'm telling you about the first time I read the book.
Incorrect interruption. And how very dare you? That's another point for Professor Shippey. But please continue for another 39 seconds on the subject.
When I got this book, I actually very nearly didn't read it, so it could well have been the first time I didn't read Tolkien. And the reason I very nearly didn't read it was I opened it up and I looked at the map on the front.
Interruption, Maggie.
Repetition of didn't. Repetition of didn't.
It was nearly the first time I didn't read it.
Maggie, that one. Correct interruption. 1 point for Maggie, and you have the subject for 30 seconds.
What's the subject again?
First time I read Tolkien.
The first time I read Tolkien was when I was 17 years old, and I was a student physiotherapist at the time. And when I...
A repetition of time.
Correct interruption.
You buggers, you should help me.
1 point deducted from me for getting that one wrong. And from Marcel for an incorrect interruption. Maggie, you have 21 seconds on the first time I read Tolkien.
So I was so engrossed in this wonderful story that I absolutely couldn't put it down. And in my first clinical placement, I used to go and sit in the toilets so that I could read it in between patients. And it was just such a wonderful...
Interruption by Shaun.
That was repetition of the word wonderful.
Yes. Yes, point to Shaun. You have 4 seconds on the subject of the first time I read Tolkien. Come on, boys. Fingers on buzzers. Starting now.
It was just priceless, Shaun's face. 1 point of me, thank you.
1 point to Marcel, because anybody that can get one over on Shaun. Shaun, you have 1 second on the subject, starting now.
I first read Tolkien.
Maggie, can I have 1 minute, beautifully spoken, all the way through without any errors at all, on the subject of Galadriel?
Galadriel was such a beautiful queen from very, very ancient times, back in the First Age. And she had very long hair. And when she was taking the...
Interruption, Marcel.
Is a hesitation.
Yeah, okay. We've got to give you the hesitation.
I'm sorry, you did say that Maggie shouldn't be interrupted, and I believe Marcel has done so.
Point off Shaun for pointing out I was wrong. Marcel, you have 40 seconds on the subject. Please carry on and tell me all about Galadriel.
When I was 13 and I first read Lord of the Rings, I really noticed Galadriel because she's really, really pretty and beautiful.
Interruption, Shaun.
Really, really.
They stop laughing.
Maggie was
It's
just
a
very
correct
rude to me.
challenge. It's killing me. I have to keep having it given points. Right, point to Shaun for a correct interruption, and you have 33 seconds on the subject of Galadriel, starting now.
Galadriel was a elf who lived in Lothlorien. She had... What now?
Maggie.
Grammatical English.
Yes.
An elf, I'm sorry, we have to have the liaison. We can't have a elf. I mean,
for her correct interruption, and another point for pointing out that the chair, it's a member of the Literary Society. Maggie, you have 27 seconds. Back to the subject of Galadriel from now.
gorgeous Lady Galadriel had a mirror and in it she could see the future and the past, and what might happen, and what may never.
No, I didn't touch anything.
I may have inadvertently touched.
I obviously touched my own button.
That's a repetition.
I'm such a stickler for the rules. I'm going to go to Mr. Shippey, Professor Shippey, and ask him, what was the reason for your interruption?
Because, like Galadriel, I can see what is going to happen. Come to pass.
Professor Shippey, you have 13 seconds on the subject of Galadriel, starting now.
The question of Galadriel's guilt and complicity in the rebellion of Fëanor is a difficult one, on which I am not allowed to comment or justify.
Interruption, Shaun.
I said
He said there's a lot of hesitation there.
Quite right.
So difficult
You
because
got
I
me on
actually
that one,
love
yeah.
his voice. I can just.
I think we should just allow it because we love hearing Tom's voice.
I'm pressing my button.
My nails in the audience, well, you don't say things like that. Correct interruption, 1 point to Shaun, and you have the subject Galadriel for 6 seconds, starting from now.
One of the things I so much love about Galadriel is that she was played by Kate Blanchett in the films, and I thought she was really...
Deviation,
There we go.
deviation, nothing to do with Kate Blanchett.
Maggie came in first with a very correct interruption. Subject back, 1 second on Galadriel, starting now.
Of course, we all know that Galadriel was the grandmother of...
Is that time or your own time? That's time. That's time. No, sorry. Running out of subjects anyway. Can we have the scores on the doors?
One more.
There was no budget for a calculator.
Recount!
Oh, please, I couldn't bear the excitement. Where are we? Right, we have I'm sorry, Tom.
I didn't get any points at all.
You got 3, darling, for being Tom. And Maggie with her excellent round on Galadriel, third place with 4. Marcel in second place with 5. Leaves me in a very difficult position.
Fixed.
New one!
No. I wish to present the prize for winning Just a Minute in Middle-earth 2019 to Shaun Gunner. Because I never let Shaun win anything, and I'm really quite cruel to him in these quizzes, I had already got him a booby prize. So Shaun also wins the booby prize. This because Shaun wanted a particular mug and I had already reserved it for this purpose to be the prize here. and the sales desk sold it to somebody else. So all those announcements you've seen for the past 4 days, will a certain person please go back to the office, will a certain, and we've been begging and sending texts and messages, and we finally got the mug back today so that you can have the 2019 mug for organising the best conference that's ever been.